For the first time in history, the Noahide laws are being formally and globally established, complete with a founding charter, rabbinic court, regional councils, a financial infrastructure, and the state of Israel's formal recognition. This November 2026, tens of thousands of non-Jews who follow the 7 laws of Noah will send delegates from 6 continents to Jerusalem for the first international Congress of the Noahides. Now, this is not some little convention. They are founding a global religious movement. The Noahides, or children of Noah, are non-Jews who keep 7 laws Jewish tradition says God gave all humanity. Don't murder, don't steal, don't commit sexual immorality, establish courts of justice, don't eat flesh torn from a living animal, don't curse God, and don't commit idolatry. Now, it's their definition behind that last one that Christians need to understand. The foremost codifier of Jewish law ruled plainly that worshiping Jesus Christ as God is idolatry. That's the Noahide classical foundational position. So this November, a rabbinic court is being formally chartered in Jerusalem to govern Noahide law for followers worldwide. That court, the financial system, the regional councils, all of it operates under that same definition of idolatry. An institution with the state of Israel's formal recognition is being built, and a legal standard that classifies the central act of Christian worship as the very thing it forbids. Now, this may seem like a small issue, but the violation of the Noahide laws, idolatry especially, means capital punishment by decapitation. Now, I believe this Noahide movement has the potential to grow into something much, much larger. Gentiles and Jews are creating a formally recognized religious court in Jerusalem governing a fast-growing global movement, starting with the position that the way Christians worship is forbidden. Now, on the final day of that Congress, 6 continental representatives present the signed charter to Israel's president himself. So whatever you make of that, it's most likely worth watching closely as we inch closer to that Congress in November.
All right, this is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha, Quadash, for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Lord willing, is edifying to the elect. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, the leaders of all Israelites in these end times, showing us the correct way to salvation. Shalom to you, Akwaf, meaning you Israelite sisters that are in order, listening and learning in silence. Shalom to you brothers out there teaching on the highways and hedges, giving up your body as a living sacrifice. And shalom to you Israelites that look like these other races of people, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, making you a Hebrew Israelite regardless of what you may appear to look like, because it ain't about color, it is about the chosen seed line, and the seed line of Israel was scattered among all nations, so therefore the Israelites are going to look like all nations. So shalom, and shalom means peace be unto you. So in this lesson, I don't have a title for it yet, to be honest, but I know what I want to speak about is what you saw in the opening clip, the 7 Noahide laws, right? Which, you know, Esau is pushing or seeking to push right now. Let's just check out what this says here. This is what I pulled up earlier from AI. It says what the 7 Noahide laws actually are. The 7 Noahide laws are ancient rabbinic moral principles derived from the Talmud, which is what the the small hats live by. Okay, it's full of wickedness and abomination. Okay, that book is like it's a satanic book, man. So it says traditionally understood in Judaism as universal ethnic guidelines or ethical guidelines for all humanity. So, you know, it's basically based off the Talmud, which, you know, we don't abide by, but they're going to try and enforce that in the whole world. And now they're having a meeting in November concerning these 7 Noahide laws, and that's not good news. Well, in a sense, it is for the elect because it means that we're closer to getting out of here, Lord willing, we be of the elect. But for the masses, it's not good because it means that the vision that we've been prophesying about is closer to taking place. Okay, and as a matter of fact, I didn't even break down that precept that I read. I'll do that in just a second. But it says they include, meaning the laws, the 7 Noahide laws, they include prohibitions. So these are prohibited. It says on idolatry, blasphemy, murder, sexual immorality, theft, cruelty to animals, and a positive command to establish courts of justice. And this is similar to what they had on their Georgia Guidestones, where they wanted to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, and there was going to be a new universal language and all this malarkey, all this crap that they were talking about, which is basically their new world order. And the Lord already says that that's not gonna prosper. And Lord willing, I'll get into that in just a minute. I'll bring out a few precepts concerning that, because they're not gonna prosper. Okay, they're gonna pass these 7 Noahide laws, and they're gonna make it they're gonna make it mandatory. If you ask AI right now, it's saying they're not going to. There's no laws that say that they're making it mandatory. It's separate. It's a religious council or whatever. But according to prophecy, it will come to pass. Okay, and I'm going to show you this in the book of Revelations, chapter 20, in just a second. But that's the Noahide laws there. Now, concerning this precept I opened the lesson with, right, Habakkuk 2 and 3, the vision, which is the prophecies, is yet for an appointed time, right? So the Lord has certain prophecies laid out for certain specific time periods. It says, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And now we're living in the time of the end. And now the prophecies are speaking loud and clear and not lying. Okay, they're true. It says, though it tarry, seem like it's taking its time, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So the Lord is not going to delay his coming. Okay, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen on according to his timing, which is perfect timing. Okay, but these prophecies are going to come to pass, and one of the prophecies being, like I mentioned in the book of, Revelation 20 and 4. It says, Revelations 20 and 4, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. So judgment was given to the elect, and the elect sat on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, as the scriptures state, right? So this is what John the Revelator saw. The vision he was given, one of the visions he was given while on the Isle of Patmos. He was given a vision by an angel while in captivity. Okay. And it says, and I saw the souls of them which were that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushai. So that's the prophecy right there. Okay, that some of the elect will be martyrs for this gospel, meaning they will be beheaded or decapitated for the sake of this gospel. It says, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded. This is what John the Revelator saw. For the witness of Yahushai, what we do, pushing this gospel. It says, and for the word of the Most High, it says, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, which, they're pushing that right now, the Neuralink and the RFID microchip, okay, which will merge with, this AI technology and this 6G technology to be basically the capstone of their new world order agenda, okay? They need to get you all chipped up so they can track and control your soul, pretty much, your whole life, okay? They will heap them unto themselves. You will belong to them. Okay, so and if you receive it, it means you've pledged allegiance. Okay, so the ones that aren't gonna pledge allegiance and bow the knee, right, to the beast in his image, those are the elect that John the Revelator saw that will be headed for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of the Most High. It says, "And which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with the anointed 1,000 years," meaning they, received eternal life in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, and let's go to another quick article or AI talking point, right? Because I asked it a few questions. Let's see. It's not in any particular order, right? So it says the core reason this claim exists. Okay, talking about the Noahide laws. It says the idea comes from Talmudic discussions about how a Noahide, which is a non-Jew under the 7 Noahide laws, how a Noahide would theoretically be punished for severe violations, right? And one of the severe violations that they say is, we'll read it in just a second. It says here, the key text is Tosefta Avodah Zarah 8 and 4. Okay, which is a scripture in their Talmud, their satanic wicked Talmud. And it says, which states, for idolatry, blasphemy, murder, sexual immorality, theft, and eating a limb from a living animal. But the part I want to focus on is idolatry, okay? Because idolatry is what they're going to say the worship of Yahushua is. If you're not worshiping the God that they want you to worship, or that the God that they believe is the true God or true power, then, you're committing idolatry in their eyes, and the punishment for idolatry is a capital punishment, which would be death by guillotine. Okay, and it doesn't necessarily say death by guillotine in the Torah, not the Torah, the Talmud. It says the only death penalty a Noahide receives is execution by sword. So that's what it says. Okay, now it says in ancient Jewish legal terminology, execution by sword is the simplest and least torturous form of capital punishment. So they're saying that execution by sword doesn't necessarily say word for word death by guillotine, right? But they're saying that this capital punishment is known as the least torturous form of capital punishment. And if you go into, do a bit of research about the history of the guillotine, which was created by a Freemason, they did experiments on animals and found that it was the quickest and most painless death. And there's a few notes that they made during their experiments of, cutting heads off, which we'll get into in just a second. But it says, execution by sword is the simplest and least torturous form of capital punishment. Historically, this meant a swift killing with a blade, not torture, not elaborate ritual. Okay, so they're saying it's a swift killing with a blade, and it's not torture or any ritual or whatever. It says some later interpreters equate extinction by sword with decapitation because in many ancient cultures the sword was used to remove the head. So this is how they came up with the the idea that death by execution by sword meant decapitation. It says because in many ancient cultures the sword was used to remove the head. It says, but the Talmud itself does not explicitly say decapitate. So it doesn't say word for word decapitation, but we know according to prophecy, as we just read in Revelation 20 and 4, that the souls of the elect are going to be beheaded for not bowing down to this beast system, which they're currently setting up as I'm doing this lesson. Okay, So I'm just trying to, help you connect the dots. And there's a bit more. It says people say decapitation is the Noahide punishment because classic. I think I read that, didn't I? Scrape guillotine. Yeah, I read that. Salakia. I read that one too. All right, let's read this here. It says Dr. Beru. It says one of the most cited accounts in 1905. It says this is the experiments they were doing on animals and people, right? It says after a guillotining, a head chopping, it says he called the prisoner's name. So, God, yo, after the man got his head slapped off his shoulders, he called the prisoner's name. How do you do that with no lungs? This sounds cap. I don't, whatever. Maybe it made lip movements or something, but it just shows you that, the body will stay alive a few seconds sometimes after decapitation. But I'm sure that you ain't got no, normal brain function when your brain is severed from your body, man. But it says the severed head's eyelid. This is the second account, or this one of the other accounts of the experiments that took place. It said the severed head's eyelids reportedly lifted and focused on him for a moment. Just stared him down. Yo, I'm just picturing it. Mental images, man. That's terrible. It says again, this is interpreted today as brainstem reflex, not true consciousness. So Esau says. Sounds like consciousness to me, but let's hope it's brainstem reflex. But either way, the Lord ain't giving us a spirit of fear. So this doesn't, hopefully this doesn't deter anyone, from being a martyr, because it's quick and painless, man. Trust me, bro. So the French guillotine observations, late 1700s to 1800s, it says during the French Revolutions, doctors standing near the guillotine reported blinking. So when they were chopping heads off during the late 1700s to the 1800s, doctors were reporting blinking after the head had severed from the body, or eye movement, or attempts to speak, or facial expressions. Imagine just the head comes off and it's just looking at you and then gives you a mean look. That's crazy. Anyway, it says these reactions lasted 2 to 5 seconds at most. See? Quick and painless. It says, but modern science explains these as reflective neural discharges and not conscious awareness. So Esau says. Let's get into another precept. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to bring out another clip first, and then we'll get into a precept. Check this out, man.
Don't worry. The neck Jezebel that turns the head of the president there, Ahab here, listen to what he has to say.
This evil anti-Semitic attack is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on humanity. It will require all of us working together to extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. This was an
our world
Semitic attack at its worst. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue.
See, because when Trump said that we have to eradicate anti-Semitism from our world, they understand that they're the wicked, And they understand Job 9:24 states that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. So he's technically right. This is their world currently. World meaning eon, as in age, okay? This is their age. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, as stated in the book of 2 Ezra 6 and 9. So this is Esau's world, okay? He's ruling at the end of the world. But we're next. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, okay? But while he's ruling, you know, he's not going to allow you to criticize those that are pretending to be the chosen people. They call it anti-Semitism, okay? And us, men of Great Millstone, you know, we are the biggest anti-Shems or anti-Sems, let's just say. We're the biggest ones out there, you know, in, you know, according to their definition, or according to their, you know, their views on us. They think we're extremists, and they're coming for us. They're going to come for us, okay? And that's the reason I wanted to play this, because they are not playing around. Esau, he's angry. He knows he doesn't have long left to rule, and they're going to come down with draconian measure. And it's going to go as far as them, you know, depopulating the earth, because they say the earth, they're feeding this lie, this deception upon the world that the world is overpopulated, when really it's mismanaged, because you got the basis of men in rulership pursuant to Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. The basis of men are set up, okay? But these people, these base people, you know, they're looking to depopulate anybody that's not a loyalist to them and their beast system. Okay, and if you're not a loyalist, they're going to say that you're part of the overpopulation problem and you got to go because you're not productive to, you know, the future of humanity and where humanity wants to go, which is merging, you know, humanity with technology. And if you're not down with that, there's no room for you in Esau's world. That's why he's talking about we need to rid the people of these anti-Shems from our world, he said, right? Let's go ahead and run that back slightly. Check this out, man.
To extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. This was an
our world.
Yeah, our worlds. That's key word right there. Okay, you can't let that go over your head. Our world, meaning the wicked. Okay, because Job 9:24 says that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. These elites know who they are, man. They know they're the wicked, and they know they don't have long left to rule. That's why it states in the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and 12, it says that, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them, meaning us of the hopeful elect. It says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, meaning the masses or the people that belong to this world. It says, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. Why? It says, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Okay, so they're coming down with draconian laws. You know, they're coming down with you know, great wrath upon the masses with their laws and stuff. You know, this thing about the Noahide laws and all that, and if you break them, you know, you can be put to death. Hey man, this is them coming down having great wrath, okay? And this is the devil right here, speaking as a dragon, man. Check him out.
Semitic attack at its worst. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue. It must be confronted and condemned everywhere it rears its very ugly head. We must stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters to defeat anti-Semitism and vanquish the forces of hate. That's what it is. Through the centuries, the Jews have endured terrible persecution, and you know that. We've all read it, we've studied it. They've gone through a lot.
Cap.
And those seeking their destruction, we will seek
their
destruction.
This man is corny as hell. These Edomites are through, man. They are base, corny. Just cringy, man. Okay. We will seek there. What did he say? Let's run that back.
Will seek their destruction.
So if you're saying the truth, you know, they're gonna seek your destruction. Okay. This is them seeking to slay them of upright conversation. Let's see. All right. This is the book of Psalms. I wasn't even going to go here, but I will. Okay, because it came to mind. It says Psalms 37:12, the wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth, his strength. Okay, so they use their military, their religious system, their financial system, their education system, you know, which is their strength. They use that against us, okay, to make sure that righteousness never flourishes in their world. Okay, the just are pushing righteousness and they're plotting against us, saying, oh, you guys are anti-Semites and there's no room for you here on this world. So they're plotting against the just, man. It says the Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. Okay, so the day of their destruction is coming because they're the son of perdition, man. It says the wicked have drawn out the sword and bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Okay, and your conversation goes into your conduct. So the people that are conducting themselves righteously, upright, meaning we're seeking Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, got our head in this book, okay, doing what's pleasing unto the Lord. You know, they want to wage war against us. This is ultimately what it's all about, okay, because we're in the way. We're the biggest threat to them. Okay, the prophets or the men of the Lord, okay? And they know this. They're not going to openly come out and say this, but we know. It says, so the wicked have drawn out the sword, meaning they've taken action to come against us, right? It says, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, us, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Okay, so they want to cast down our people, which are the poor and needy, right? And they want to slay the elect. It says, their sword shall enter into their own heart and their bows shall be broken. Okay, so the Lord gonna get them, man. They may come after the Lord's elect, but that's where they mess up. Okay, it doesn't end well for the wicked. Okay, but part of them coming down having great wrath is this precept right here, and it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer, because we're going to suffer. This devil is going to make moves against us soon, and we're going to go through some persecution. All right, so brace yourself for that. I'm just letting you know ahead of time that this is what the prophecies say, and this is what's coming. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. So the Lord is saying not to fear these things, okay, because he's going to be with you during this time. You need to have faith during this time, man. Okay, don't be of a doubtful spirit or a doubtful mind during this time, man. It says, behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Okay, so some of us will be thrown into prison. And what they do with us behind them walls is up to them, okay? Because we're going to be in their worlds and they're going to be torturing people, putting people to death. They've already, it's already rumored that they've got incinerators built, at these ICE facilities and things like that, Certain concentration camps they've been throwing up come with crematories where they can cremate your body. What's that about? That's highly suspicious. So it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Okay. It says, behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. That's Esau Edom. That's the devil that the Bible's speaking about. Because the devil that the Christians imagine is not going to pop up out the ground and throw us into prison. Okay. It just means the people ruling Esau, they're going to use their workers, their minions, their officers, or their angels, their ministers. They're going to be used those to do his will. Okay, so the devil will cast us indirectly into prison. It says that ye may be tried, tested, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, which means a set period of time. Doesn't necessarily mean actually 10 days. It could be, but more than likely it won't be. It says, be thou faithful unto death, meaning that some of us could possibly die, but we got to be faithful even if we have to die for this truth. Okay, and it's well worth it, and only the elect will go all the way, man. It says, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So if we go all the way with this thing, man, and prove that we truly love Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, then, we'll receive a crown of life and eternal life, man. Okay, but the Lord ain't gonna allow them to complete their agenda of throwing us into prison and decapitating us and forcing us to receive their microchip. They're not gonna achieve their agenda, man. They're gonna get some of us, but they're not gonna achieve the agenda that they're trying to push for, which is to enslave everyone. They're not gonna get the elect. All right. So I want to turn to the book of Psalms 21 and 10 real quick. And it says, actually, I'll tell you what, I'll start up at 8. We might as well start at 8. Psalms 21 and 8, the point is in 10. No, the point is in 11, Salakia. So Psalms 21 and 8, it says, thine hand shall find out all thine enemies. Thine hand is Yahushai. And he's going to find out all the enemies of the Lord, okay? Thy right hand, which is Yahushai, shall find out those that hate thee, okay? So this is what the Spirit of the Lord is doing through this word. We preach the gospel, the ones that reject it. Hey, that's Yahushai finding out who his enemies are. It's all spiritual, right? But you got to recognize it for what it is. It says in verse 9, thou shalt make them, meaning the rebels, thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger, which is the lake of fire, okay? It says, Yahweh shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them, which is the lake of fire, aka the nuclear holocaust that's coming in the peak of World War III that the Lord is currently cooking up. So verse 10, it says, their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, right? So everything they've created, their wicked inventions and devices, their technology, their system, everything that they've done, because we're put here on earth to be fruitful and multiply. Esau's fruit is wicked, okay? His fruit is wicked. So the Lord is going to destroy their fruit from the earth. And it says, and their seed, right? So their posterity, their lineage, their pedigree. It says, and their seed from among the children of men. And you can back that up. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and add a note real quick. All right, Obadiah 1 and 18. You can back that up with Obadiah 1 and 18 because their seed is going to be destroyed from the earth. The scriptures say that there shall be none remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. That's Obadiah 1 and 18. So verse 11, it says, and this is why the Lord is going to destroy them from the earth. It says, for they intended evil against thee. See, they wanted to enslave you, and anyone that resists, they wanted to cut your head off. For they intended evil against thee. Do you think the Lord is not going to step in on our behalf when we're led as a sheep to the slaughter, as a flock to the slaughter? We're defenseless. We're in Esau's kingdom. We have to do what he says, otherwise we don't eat. Okay? So they're trying to force us into a corner where we will be either bowing down to their system and be a perpetual slave, or you will be slaughtered. Those are the choices that are coming, all right? So, this is why we take this so serious, okay? Somebody's got to, okay? You people that are sat on the couch, you're useless, man. But you people that are, taking action and preparing yourselves spiritually for this time, hey, you're the ones that count, okay? You're the wise, while the rest of these people are just marching willingly toward their own destruction, man. Anyway, it says, for they intended evil against thee. They imagined a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. See, and that's why I said the point is in verse 11. Because they intended evil against thee. This is their intentions of their new world order, right? The great culling. They imagined a mischievous device. It says, which they are not able to perform. So they're not going to get away with it. They're not going to accomplish, their enterprise, okay? So it says in verse 12, therefore shalt thou make them turn their back when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. So they're going to flee to their bunkers when the Lord, shoots them nukes off in their direction. Okay. That's why it says, therefore shalt thou make them turn their back. See, they're going to flee from the iron weapon. It says, when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. It says, be thou exalted, Yahweh, in thine own strength, so will we sing and praise thy power. Okay, so the Lord has got something cooking up for these devils, okay, and because of their wicked devices, their wicked plans, against the Lord's elect. Okay, you can't do anything against the Lord's elect. Let's just quickly turn to the book of Job. Yeah, Job 20, that's right. Job 20 and 23, okay? Let's start at verse 22, right? It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, meaning the peak of his kingdom, he shall be in straits. Straits meaning a position of difficulty. They're fumbling their kingdom right now, searching for oil and natural resources, and they're having a hard time acquiring those resources, as before they used to bully people and get it real easy. But now the weak are saying they're strong, and Esau, he's having a hard time, okay? He's trying to fight people he thinks are weak, and they're kicking his ass right now, i.e. Iran, okay? So it says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. He's going through it. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. The wicked goes in, the word wicked goes into. All right, Salakia, I had a phone call, so I'm going to start verse 22 from the top again, right? Job 20 and 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits, a position of difficulty. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. The wicked means the laborer, meaning the common people are coming against this man. This is why he's coming down having great wrath, because he's backed in a corner. Okay, he's in a position of difficulty. So he's coming down having great wrath because he knows that he has a short time, as we read earlier in Revelations 12 and 12. So it says in verse 23, it says, when he is about to fill his belly, meaning achieve his new world order agenda, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, meaning those nukes. He's going to rain them nukes upon him. Okay, it says, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating, meaning while he is in the midst of chipping people up and thinking he's about to achieve his enterprise, the Lord gonna stop him dead in his tracks with them nukes. Okay, we can't wait. Okay, and in verse 24 it says, he shall flee from the iron weapon. Okay, so their back is gonna be turned, like the Lord said earlier in the precept I read earlier, man. He shall flee from the iron weapon. It says, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. That's them nukes, man. He gonna flee to them bunkers, but the nukes gonna get, a lot of their people. Okay, but these elites, they're reserved for slavery. Okay, they're the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, and they're gonna build up the walls of the elect, just like the nation of Israel built the foundation of America. Okay, they have to receive double. So it says in verse 25, it is drawn, meaning the bow of steel, it is drawn and cometh out of the body, which is the weapon silos. It says, the glittering sword, which is another word for the nukes or the missiles. It says, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. So terrors are upon these devils, these elites, so-called elites. They're elites, okay? because they know this day is coming according to prophecy. That's why they got their bunkers ready. Why else you think they spent billions on underground cities, man? Because they take these scriptures very serious. It says, all darkness shall be hidden in secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. Okay. So, you know, the fallout and these nukes is going to consume these devils, man. And it ain't going to go well with them that are, you know, left in their houses or whatever, you know, just in their comfort, you know, that aren't prepared spiritually, right? So let's go to another precept. Let's stay in the book of Job while we're here and go to chapter 5, and we're going to read verse 12 through 13. It says, he disappointeth, Job 5 and 12, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. So the crafty are these so-called elites, okay? These devils, man. And the Lord is going to disappoint their devices because they imagined wicked devices against us, just as I read earlier. But the Lord said he's going to disappoint the devices of these devils, man, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, meaning he's going to stop them dead in their tracks with them nukes. It says, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. The counsel of the froward is carried headlong. So it's going to come to naught, man. The Lord about to he's about to disappoint their plans miserably, okay? So let's bring out one more precept, you know, or possibly one more, possibly two, we'll see. But let's bring out another precept or two to close this out. Let's go to Proverbs 10 and 28. Let's start at 27. It says, the fear of Yahweh prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. Okay, that's why their rulership is almost up. And that's why time is speeding up for the elect's sake, or the days are being shortened for the elect's sake, is because the Lord is hurrying up, you know, this process to get this devil out of power, man. Because the Lord, you know, desires to see us, you know, rule, you know. He wants to see his footstool beautified, you know, meaning this earth. He wants to see it glorious, man, and he's gonna make it glorious. And that's when the wicked are taken down, okay? That's why it says the fear of the Lord prolongeth days, okay? So if you fear the Lord gonna be with you, man, okay? And you know, certain things that may have caused you to be put to death, certain accidents or whatever, you know, the Lord can send angels to spare you from that, okay? So it prolongs days when you're in good terms with Yahweh Shem Yahushai. It says, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. That's why they're coming down having great wrath, because they know they don't have long left to rule, man. Revelation 12 and 12. So verse 28, this is the point. It says, the hope of the righteous shall be gladness. See, this is what we got to hope for, man. It's gladness. We're going to see this devil taken down. It's only a matter of time. This is the promise. This is the comforter. These are the comforting words that you need to hear on a daily basis, man, to keep us going, to get us through these days, these wicked, evil days that we're living in, man. We need to know that the hope of righteousness, the hope of the righteous is shall be gladness, meaning that we're going to be all right in the end. The Lord going to wipe away all tears and remove all sorrow from our life, man. Once these devils are taken down, okay, that's when the world begins, okay, our world, okay, let them have this world. It says, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish, see? So the Lord is going to do away with their expectation, their new world order agenda, okay? That's it, you know? Yeah, I think that's it, you know? I'm going to leave that there. So what I'll do is I'll, you know, this is what's coming, man. You know, decapitation is coming. So you must brace yourself for this and be courageous. You got to be brave, man. I'm going to close it out with this last clip, 3 minutes and a half long, all right? So on that note, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham, Racha Kodash. All right, Shalom.
Check out this rabbi's prayer at one of Trump's rallies.
May we move forward together seeking to build a future that reflects the will of God and its values based on the 7 Noahide laws that will unite us all together. Amen.
If you break one of the Noahide laws, it's punishable by capital punishment. Want to know the first law? Idolatry. You know what they consider idolatry to be? Acknowledging Jesus. They also have given him a ton of awards, call him the Prince of Peace. They gave him like a Torah crown. Although they don't directly say it, they seem to think that he is the Messiah. Might be time for us to get ready.
When I was in high school, coming from a completely non-Christian and non-religious family or background, I distinctly remember the first time that I decided that the Bible or the New Testament was definitely not true. Made up, fairy tale, whatever. It was one verse, one scripture that to me at the time proved unequivocally that it wasn't written for our time. A prophecy that was impossible to be fulfilled. Here's the verse.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands.
No way could guillotines be introduced as a form of execution in the 21st century, right? No way. Proof that the Bible was a prehistoric book written for prehistoric people. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, like the smartphone or the smartwatch, this is called the Smart Guillotine. Built by Chanel. You know, the perfume and clothing and accessories brand for the rich. What on earth does a perfume company have to do with chopping people's heads off? Well, here's their logo, and there is an eye in the design. And have you seen their drip design? How odd. Welcome to the real world. You ready? This is Bill HB 1274 on the death penalty, guillotine provisions. But I just wanted to show you that in 1995 the ball was already rolling. Another ball that's rolling are the 7 universal Noahide laws. They were signed into US law in 1991 by George H.W. Bush on March 26. Here's the bill and resolution. It was named Education Day. As you can see in the details of Resolution HJ 104, they are the 7 Noahide laws, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in 1996. Every single president since H.W. Bush has annually re-signed this resolution. And this will be international law. The law against idol worship will include, quite specifically, the worship of as the Son of God, which the Noahide laws will classify as blasphemy, and the punishment for transgressing the 7 Noahide laws is decapitation. This will be governed by a world court, with no possibility of appeals. Who do you think is truly behind these laws? Here is the bill being signed into law by H.W. Bush, and here is their signature hidden in plain sight, the hidden hand of Freemasonry. Who do you think designed the guillotine in the first place? This guy, Joseph Guillotine, a Freemason.